Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of TV is a Real Mom. I'm Dave,
I'm Katie.
and you are listening to our weekly Survivor recap podcast in which we break down the latest episode of Survivor. And last night was the finale of Survivor Kaoh Rong. And what's your overall feeling about the finale, Katie?
What could go wrong, Dave? What could go wrong?
Is this why Jeff Probst wasn't hyping up the season, do you think? Was this
Yes,
it? You think
absolutely. Yes.
so you think Jeff anticipated that there would be more Aubrey fans out there than Michelle fans?
I think he sensed it would be an unsatisfying winner. And we've had a streak of really satisfying winners lately. And
Yeah.
so to go back to this was rough. I couldn't even, it reminded me of the Vikings and Seahawks playoff game this last January, where Blair Walsh was kicking the field goal and I knew he was going to miss, so I didn't look.
Yeah,
I
you're
did
like,
the exact same thing. I was like, I know she's going to win, and I just didn't look.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Very. Oh man, that's an excellent analogy because I
yeah.
felt the same exact way as a Vikings fan. At the time, I was like, he's gonna miss it, and it was the same thing with this. I was like, it's Michelle. God damn it.
Yeah. And it's not that, whatever. I'm not going to apologize for talking bad about Michelle's game because it's not talking bad about her as a person. We all know she's a lovely person, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And she played a friendly game. You know, oorah, good for her.
That's
But
ultimately what won her.
She did not deserve to win this game. And this was by far the worst jury I've ever seen on a finale. This jury was absolute trash.
Oh my God. Wow, that's a hot take, Katie.
No, I don't think I'm the only one thinking that. They were garbage.
Yeah,
With the exception of maybe one, two people.
Yeah.
Not just because they voted for Aubrey. We knew Joe was going to vote for Aubrey.
Yeah. No, yeah, let's be clear though. Like we are Aubrey fans. I mean, I think that's clear. I think you have to consider how we're sort of drawn to. I don't know. I'll speak for myself. I've talked about this before. I'm very drawn to the cerebral, nerdy types, and I root for them over everybody else. It never fails. It's always who I root for. It's why I was.
But that doesn't even come into it, you know. She drove this game from the point Neil got medevaced onward, and even when she and Joe were with their swap tribe, I don't even remember the name, whatever. She was a force there as well, and so I don't understand what the jury saw. I know what the jury saw. I know exactly what happened with the jury.
Yeah, I'm starting to get it now. Like, the more I think about it, it's all making more sense. But last night after Michelle won, I was kind of like stunned. Even though, like, I was with you, I was like, she's gonna win. I know it. But I still had this stunned feeling after she won, and I was like, I don't get it. Why? I don't get it. And now I'm starting to get it. But at the time, it just didn't make any sense.
The conclusion I've come to, and this is the conclusion I came to back when the camp was sabotaged. They would claim it was strategy. They would claim it was part of the game, but they were the most butthurt people I have ever seen on this show, and they would not let it go. And they brought Julia over to their little creepy butthurt corner of how we have to shun anyone who got us out of the game. Like Sydney, when she came to Ponderosa, they ignored her because they were still so, bitter at her, even though she's a far superior player to any of those three. And they just couldn't take it. And it pisses me off to think that those three poisoned the jury so hard.
Well, I've been thinking more about this. So Scott and Jason, they obviously voted the wrong way, in my opinion, for the winner. They were voting based on, like you said, they were butthurt about being bested by Aubrey, basically, and they weren't about to give the money. They're a good example. Yeah, Sydney falls into that camp too, of pretty much the same exact thing. They were bested by Aubrey, so I'm going to give it to somebody else just to make myself feel better. You get that from time to time in Survivor. You get juries like that. It sucks. But as far as Julia goes, I still kind of feel like Julia makes voting for Michelle just makes sense. I mean, it was probably gonna happen anyways.
But this is
and
the
Nick,
thing.
I feel like Nick
When they
too.
were for Aubrey.
He did. Okay, I'm a little confused about what the votes. Can you tell me the votes, how they were?
Joe and Nick voted for Aubrey. Everybody else voted for Michelle.
Oh, so Debbie voted for Michelle.
Debbie was butthurt as well.
Oh, I had those two flipped around in my head as far as who voted for who.
It's a bit surprising, but it shows that Nick and Neil were, I think, really good friends, and they probably had a lot of actual emotionless, logical discussions about who was playing a better game. And the clear choice, I mean, was Michelle hanging her hat on one immunity challenge win at the end and writing Julia's name down? What about the people who orchestrated getting Julia and Jason out? Why was Michelle seen as the person who did the right thing there? I don't understand it.
Well,
she did nothing but go along with it.
Yeah, I don't think they were rewarding that at all. It comes down to what is your jury value? And this jury isn't placing value on gameplay. They're placing value on emotions and relationships, which is a different way you can go. And that's the way this jury went. And Michelle just happens to be a little bit more of that social butterfly type who just kissed their ass enough, didn't do enough wrong to piss them off. And so they like her better. They feel better about her than Aubrey. So they're going to vote for her.
Okay, well, I have something to say about that because Jason, before he came into the game, claimed that Russell Hantz was the only person to play this game correctly.
Yep.
And Russell Hantz went to the end and was rewarded for his poor social game, or the fact that he made so many big moves and it rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah.
So how can Jason not even recognize someone like Aubrey who made the moves but didn't even, burn people the way that Russell Hantz burned people? She still had connections, maybe not to the level that Michelle did, but I feel like those two just couldn't handle the fact that those two strong, tough women got him out, and they had to go with the woman who was like on their side, but just doing what, the easy thing and going along with whatever.
Yeah, it's what it comes down to. It's extremely their vote is extremely personal. It's just, I'm going to vote for the person who wasn't responsible for me getting voted out. And Michelle, on top of it, was not on. She wasn't in on. Which vote was that? Was that Jason or Scott? Am I thinking of Scott? Michelle wasn't in on
She wasn't in on the Scott thing.
Yeah, she wasn't in on that. So therefore, that makes her even more likable by those two. And I felt like, if you think about the jury, when I was thinking about, I thought Nick voted for Michelle. So I was wrong about that. But if he had, it would make sense that Nick and Julia would vote for her. And to me, Scott and Jason were kind of the like up in the air guys. They're bronze, and Sydney too, even like they're up in the air. Like none of the bronze made it to the end. So their votes should be, we don't know where they're going to go.
It just goes to show you that bronze are more likely to be butthurt when things don't go their way than anybody else. Whereas brains, what has gone on and take their hurt feelings out of it.
Not necessarily. I mean, Debbie's a brain. She was butthurt.
Debbie's an island. Debbie's an anomaly. Debbie is...
Debbie's a tie.
Debbie sucks. I'm mad at Debbie too. I'm mad at everyone. I'm even mad at Sydney, although I don't think to really sit back and think. And I don't know why she'd be mad at Aubrey. She even said when they hugged after the fire making challenge that it was all love.
Yeah, so, you did what you had to do. But I just feel like Michelle did a better job at bonding with Sydney on a personal level. It seemed like those two were closer. So I wasn't surprised at all that Sydney voted for Michelle. It's like I said, it comes down to Scott and Jason. If those two are voting based on gameplay, Aubrey wins the thing. But they're voting based on, their hearts. So whatever. Yeah, and it sucks.
I can't. But it's not even their hearts; it's their egos.
Yeah, that's I said the obvious word, but that's not the right one. Egos is better.
And,
Yeah.
and what does it say that there was this nasty little trio in Ponderosa of Scott, Jason, and Julia? Like, what does it say when the person who's hanging out with them is a 19-year-old girl? Like, what does that say about them and their attitude towards things?
No comment.
I'm just saying.
No comment on that one.
I didn't. No, I don't mean it like, oh, they're whatever, they're being gross about it. I meant like attitude wise, like they all have the same attitude about things. You know what I mean?
Maturity level.
They have this.
See, I thought you meant they were like perverts.
No. I would almost go so far as to say is that Julia almost has a more mature attitude about it than those guys do, because Julia I saw on her Twitter today that she said that she regrets being such a bitch to Sydney and has apologized to her. But whereas Scott was like, I have no regrets.
Julia was a bitch to Sydney?
Yeah, when Sydney got to Ponderosa, she ignored Sydney, as did Scott and Jason.
What?
Yeah. They're a bunch of dicks. And they were just butthurt by this. I know. These are like grown men with wives and children. Yeah. And I don't know what Julia has to be mad at Sydney about.
Yeah, I don't get that. Can we talk about Scott then, about his jury presentation?
I had to restrain myself from throwing something at the TV during that.
Yeah, that was I didn't like it. It made me uncomfortable. I don't know.
It made me uncomfortable too, because you could sense they like plan. I don't know if they planned out the order, but like they'd saved him for last because his was going to be the really bring it home. Michelle's played a better game than you speech, when it just made him look like a.
Yeah, it kind of fell.
Made him look like an idiot.
Yeah, and his dance, I loved when the camera like panned back to show his whole big body for his weird little dance. Like they're like, look at this jackass. It was great.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's I feel like that's what the shot said. It was like, look at this big dumb ass.
That's exactly what he looked like. But I knew once he said that, and he was the last one, I kind of got the feeling that, it's
a bitter jury.
This is all going Michelle's way.
Yeah.
And because no one was asking Aubrey questions.
No, she didn't get to explain herself.
No, and you could sense that when she finally got to like plead her case at the end, I mean, she seemed desperate, and she must have known that,
Yeah. No, early on in the final tribal, I could see this look on her face that said to me, whatever we're not seeing has determined that she lost, and she knows it. Because, I mean, the look on her face throughout tribal was like, I can't believe they're not going to vote for me. I can't believe I lost. And she had the same look at the reading of the votes in the live reunion thing. She had that look on her face. Like I think that's really how I knew Michelle won. I was like, Aubrey knows she lost already. So
yeah, it always seems when they reveal the votes, they know. Like last year, Spencer knew. Like, I don't know if people tell you who they voted for, or if they just get a sense from the final tribal how things went.
Well, can you imagine Aubrey talking to Neil in the offs after the season's been, in the can over for like over a year now or something like that, or about a year. So you have to think like Neil and Aubrey talking during waiting for the show to air. Like she had to have gotten it out of him. Like, do you think I won? He's like, no, nobody voted for you but me and Nick. That probably, don't you think that probably happened? Like he just couldn't. He's like, you might as well just know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how strictly they adhere to those rules that they're not supposed to say what was what, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea, but like in my head, I see like Neil and Aubrey being like really good buddies, and it's like, I don't want you to suffer over this for a year. I'm just gonna tell you now.
Well, she said that she knew after the final tribal council that she did not win.
Yeah.
So
I mean, she knew, and
there must be a combination of a gut thing and also
a little bit of confirmation, maybe.
Yeah.
Somebody,
Yeah.
But yeah, real disappointing ending. And
ended with that was
It's tough for me to imagine there being a lot of people satisfied with the ending. I don't know.
No. I
Yeah.
think the consensus, and I'm still worked up about it, so that's
Yeah.
why I've been swearing and all that, and I'm sorry for that. But
Did you swear?
um,
I didn't hear any swearing.
I said the B word.
The what, bitch
Yeah.
or butthurt?
Well, I said both. But anyway, um, where was I going? What was I talking about?
You're still upset about it.
Yeah, and
Um,
I don't think I'm the only one. I think a lot of people really were excited about the season and how good it happened to be, and then it just last night was a big swing and a miss.
yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I said that the season ranked extremely high for me, and it would have to something weird would have to happen for it to get knocked down. Well, I
It
can't
happened.
believe it happened.
Yeah.
It's knocked down a peg for me because of this, and I hate to say it. I'm guessing there's a lot of people out there who are like, "You're an idiot," like why? Just because you're nerdy, your co-nerdy buddy didn't win the game, you're going to be butthurt about it and say it's
No,
the
I
worst
don't think
season.
that's it. I don't think it's. I think Aubrey was not just nerdy, but not. Aubrey was a complete player, and she had an evolution on the show. I didn't see an evolution with Michelle. I saw her, kind of being clueless in the first few days of the game or week or so or whatever, and then being pretty close to being on the chopping block because of her uh, challenge performances, and then finally working her way to the bottom of several different alliances. And so I didn't see an evolution from her, and I saw one from Aubrey, and I also felt that she was more of a relatable person because she
Yeah.
struggled. She
Hmm.
struggled to make decisions. She struggled physically. She had luck with both Neil and Joe going out due
Hmm.
to medical evacuations. She was relatable.
Yeah. They
And she
really
played
played
better.
they really played up not Aubrey's, Michelle's. They really played up Michelle's evolution too. Like you just said, Aubrey had a better evolution story. They didn't play that up. They played up Michelle's evolution story, how she started out as the underestimated pretty girl and just
At the
grew.
finale or through the whole season?
I think in the final tribal council and in the reunion, they played up how she had this
Yeah, because
evolution
they had
story.
to justify the fact that she won. I read in some of her exit interviews that she was just like, yeah, I just play it as who I am. That's who I am. Whereas Aubrey's like, I've changed as a person. My life has changed because of this
Yeah.
game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That goes to
Yeah.
show you. And I feel like that was the edit Aubrey was getting because that's what was there. If there had been an evolution
Hmm.
with Michelle, we would have been getting that all season.
Yeah.
Like, she was the winner. They had a year to edit this crap together to make her look like a deserving winner. And what did we get? Like some random quotes here and there, and then a few good challenge performances down the stretch. And that's your winner?
Yeah. She was pretty weak, all in all. I have to agree. Yeah. Um, so let's talk a little bit about um, the new twist on the you can vote out a jury member. If I'm doing this right in my head, Katie, I don't think it mattered, right?
No.
It didn't make a difference.
It would have been 5-3.
Now I was thinking about this,
Uh-huh.
and I think there is a strong possibility it did matter. And here's why. Because if Aubrey wins that challenge, she can keep Neil, someone who's going to campaign for her in Final Tribal. And that's one thing. But you're forgetting that she gets to get rid of somebody different. So she can get rid of somebody who's campaigning hard for Michelle.
Mm.
So who knows? Maybe like Jason or Scott getting rid of one of them can shift things in her favor. Maybe winning that immunity too, or not the immunity, winning that individual reward. Maybe that also is another notch on her belt, another thing she can, right? If that
I
challenge goes different,
Yeah,
right?
but I honestly don't think that I don't know math wise how that works out, but I don't think that Aubrey winning another challenge would have helped her because she saved her own life by building fire in front of Sydney in a very emotional and intense challenge, and they didn't care. That wasn't enough for them. And also, I feel like they were just begging for Michelle to give them a reason to, you know, vote for her. And another challenge win just happened to fall onto the things. Be like, you gotta be like, look, Aubrey played the better game and you guys are being dumb. And I don't know if that actually ever affects people's votes, but I think he would have been a better speaker on Aubrey's behalf.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's all really good points.
But some of the final tribal council questions or statements were absolutely ridiculous. Like Nick's, what was Nick even saying? He was being a douche again.
He was saying, "Get ready, here it comes," and then he left. Right? Isn't that what happened?
Oh, yeah, and I was thinking,
that right?
Yeah, basically. And I was thinking to myself, there's only 7 jury members. You know, there's not a lot of room for questions, and that's what you're going with, really?
He's gonna sacrifice his. He could have helped Aubrey out with that one, but he didn't. He just, it's disappointing.
And yeah.
So what? Yeah, but back to the twist. Were you cool with the twist conceptually?
No, I hated it.
No. Can you explain why?
Because mostly for the jurors' sake, it's not cool to go out there, be forced to stay out there. In Neil's case, he was the first one on the jury, and be at Ponderosa for freaking 3 weeks or whatever, thinking the only stake you have left is games. You get to help decide who wins, and you just get that taken away from you. I think that's dirty. I don't like it.
Yeah, I can see that. When they first said what it was, I was actually pretty excited about it. I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, like, what a cool, I'm glad they're trying to do something new. What a cool idea. But then it dawned on me. I'm like, oh, wait, I literally called my shot just like Babe Ruth. I was like, Michelle's going to win and Neil's going home. And as soon as, not going home.
Again, your MVP got voted out. He got to go home twice.
Yeah, my MVP got voted out twice. But yeah, not going home, but you know what I mean. So when it dawned on me that Neil was going to be the one, and I called this before the challenge was even over. I'm like, oh no, Neil's not going to be on the jury. And I hated the idea because I know, you know how I feel about Neil. Neil's like my boy, you know? And I was like, man, Neil's a huge fan of this game. I know how much he loves this game and how important it is to him, probably, to how great of an experience that would be for him to be on the jury. And she robbed him of that. And I immediately hated the idea after that.
Both Neil and Aubrey got robbed in this finale. So our brains did not fare well. The
brains have been robbed completely.
Yeah, it was rough to watch this whole episode. I thought up to the point of the fire making challenge, I thought it was a decent episode. But from that point on, man, did it go down fast. Yeah. And it just kept getting worse. And then you got to the reunion and you're like, what the hell is this carnival ride? This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Can we talk about how bad?
It was a disaster.
Yeah. Can we talk about how bad the reunion was? Because it was not good.
Oh, Lord. It was one of the worst ones I've ever seen. Sydney was 4th place and one of the players of the season, and she did not get one question. That was ridiculous.
She didn't get to say a friggin' word. I think I heard her make a comment in the background, like when someone else was talking, just to try to, like, she's like, me, like, and they're like, no, they didn't talk to her at all.
we need to listen to Ty ramble for 5 more minutes. You don't get to speak.
Yeah, that was my God. Yeah, that's at least they talked to Sydney's mom, right? Sydney's mom
got more airtime than Sydney did.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Basically the whole reason they did that, it seemed like, was to be like, look, Sydney's mom is jacked too. Like that was like
Yeah.
that was like why they did it. It's like cool, right? Okay. But yeah, we definitely need to talk a little bit about Ty, how bad he was in Final Travel.
Well,
What are
we
your
knew
thoughts?
that was going to be the case. We knew
Yeah,
exactly how it would go down. That's why people wanted to take Ty. And Michelle even said in the episode, like,
yeah,
Aubrey can speak, Ty cannot. And that's not a
yes.
knock on his English or anything. It's a knock on his, he just gets flustered when,
I
he
think there's a
has
little
to,
bit of a knock on his English too. I mean, and not like in a
not directly.
not in a vindictive way. Like not she's not being vicious or anything. She's just saying. But no, I mean, yeah, Ty's English is not great. You know, that's part of it. That's part of why I think you need to take that into consideration and give the guy a little bit of credit because English is not his first language. And try to imagine you learning a different language and you're
Oh my gosh.
fluent enough to speak it, but you're not good at it. And then you go and play this game and have to explain yourself at the end of it. Can you imagine? You know, it would be hard.
Yeah. Well, I
So
think that combined with his personality of just kind of wilting when someone is, questioning him in any way and making him feel defensive and that sort of thing, he just kind of withers away, and then he just kind of rambles because maybe he can't find the words he wants, and so it's just bad. And I felt bad for him. I'm glad he at least had Mark as like a security blanket there with him to like make him feel better. I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't think it was an advantage. Ty was never going to win, so
yeah, absolutely. And you're right. I wanted to put the English language thing out there because that's a big part of it. But you're right. I mean the being flustered, the poise in the moment isn't there either, and the combination of the two just leads to a brutal, probably the worst tribal council performance I've ever seen. I don't think I've seen worse. I don't know. What do you think? You think you've seen worse
I
tribal council?
to be honest, I don't even
Maybe
remember sometimes who's in final tribal councils from if you go back more than a couple of seasons.
especially the not the non-winners. Yeah,
Yeah, especially like the
yeah,
third place person, like
yeah.
Sherry from Karamoan. Did she say anything?
Or like
Probably not. I don't know, but
Mick from Samoa.
bro, he was in the
Yeah,
final three.
it was a final three. Yeah, it was Russell, Natalie, and Mick.
Huh.
And no one ever remembers that Mick was sitting there. They're always like Natalie and Russell, you know, but Mick could have won
That's
too.
true.
No, he couldn't
I
have.
honestly think I haven't felt this disappointed about a finale result since Samoa. And Russell's a jerk. Everybody knows that. But I was so bummed when he didn't win because I was like, well, he did everything. So why is
Yeah,
he not going to win?
yeah.
And but that's why people say the social game is just as important. But you can't put Aubrey's social game in any category near Russell Hance's social game. She
No.
played a good social game. She just
Yeah.
had a
I don't
shitty
know.
jury.
Yeah, my thought is on her social game though that there's probably a lot that we don't see where she might not be very charming. That
Well,
she
another
compares
thing,
herself to Cochran being super neurotic. Maybe that like annoys people more than we get to see.
well, I think her overthinking got the best of her and got to her to the point where maybe she didn't allow herself to let go and have fun. And that maybe just rubbed people the wrong way and she came off as just calculating and looking at the next move as opposed to Michelle, who was like, I'm having fun and I'm
Yeah.
pretty and you guys like me and
Yeah. She did talk about how she stayed positive throughout the game and I think that's true. I think Michelle seemed like she was able to keep a positive attitude and keep a little levity about her.
yeah.
Maybe you're right. Maybe Aubrey came across as like, I can't just let go and have fun. Everything I gotta stay in the game, you know, like, which is cool, but it might not, win you any friends,
When you're dealing with this type of a jury
Yeah.
who clearly doesn't value that, who just values, oh, did this person piss me off? No? Okay, I'll vote for them. That was the only thing that these people valued. Then, if you are calculating in their eyes and don't know how to have fun, that's going to work against you. So.
What'd you think of the Sia moment with
Well, at first I was like, wow, that's cool that Sia is a Survivor fan because I like Sia.
Yeah.
I have a couple of her albums, and it's always fun when you hear these celebrities are actually Survivor fans. And then I thought it was awesome that she gave Ty money and gave a charity money, which probably had something to do with animals or bees or whatever. So it was nice. I just felt that it dragged on a little bit too long and that it flustered Jeff a little bit, and that I think it might have been responsible from Sydney and maybe a couple other people. Neil, I would have liked to hear from.
I didn't expect to hear from Neil at all, but
even after his blistering exit statement.
Yeah, it's too bad Michelle won too, because if she wouldn't have won, what he said would have made sense. But he said you don't have a chance, and she won.
Yeah.
So obviously Neil was in the dark about what everyone else on the jury was thinking too, apparently.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. Another bummer to the brain story.
It was just a whole big bummer. The whole episode.
It was a letdown. It was a
really big letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there have been seasons that are terrible, like Nicaragua or Fiji. But then they've been kind of not saved, but redeemed slightly by the fact that a person who really deserved to win won. Like Fabio won his way to the end by winning all those immunities, not just one, and a reward. And then Earl, who was kind of running the show, maybe it was kind of boring, but he was the one who should have won. This one was like, this Kaoh Rong was like the opposite. Like, it was such a good season, and then just some random person won, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it's funny. We broke down all these scenarios in our podcast of like all the different ways it could go, and we never really thought about what if Aubrey makes it to the end with Michelle, or what if Aubrey or Sydney gets there with Michelle and Michelle still wins. We didn't really discuss that possibility because we were so convinced that people were going to see clearly that Aubrey played the better game and vote accordingly. We didn't see that. I guess what's going on with that?
And I wonder if after having a year to reflect upon it and watching all the stuff Aubrey was doing and the emotional turmoil she was in, if they regret that. I'm sure Scott has no regrets because whatever. But I wonder if more intelligent people. Are there any intelligent people on that jury?
Neil.
Debbie. Well, Neil was going to vote for Aubrey.
Yeah.
Like, if Debbie or even Sydney and even Jason, I consider somewhat intelligent.
Yeah, I feel like Jason could have voted for Aubrey if he would have pulled his head out of his ass.
Well, he made that show of, I don't know who I'm going to vote for when he was writing down the name.
Yeah.
I never buy that when people do that, but.
I don't buy it either because, like, what did Aubrey do to not convince him? Actually, you know what?
I don't even think he didn't even ask her a question.
I think I got it. I think I know what it was. Michelle made him realize that Michelle was completely in the dark on the vote that got Scott out. I think like it was clear or something about that where he realized, oh, Michelle didn't try to hurt me. I'm voting for her. It was like, that's what he got, That's how he decided.
Yep, because that's what you should base. I mean, that's what people are selfish beings, and that this season certainly proved that.
Yeah.
It's very upsetting.
I do just feel like the deck was stacked against Aubrey. The jury just was stacked against her. It would be really, really hard for her to spin it around. So.
Yeah, I just feel icky. It left like an ick on me.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I feel icky, and it's such a bummer because I really liked this season up until.
It was pretty phenomenal up until there. Actually,
just shit the bed there at the end.
fell off a little bit in the last couple episodes too. I mean, like the Julia,
but it wasn't.
Joe.
It wasn't a dumpster fire like the finale was.
Yeah, finale. It's like this combination of the finale and the reunion together were just like atrocious.
So bad, so bad. And then, can we talk about? I don't know if you want to talk about this now, but
sure.
what the next season is gonna be. Like that looks horrible.
I did get some pangs of
Oh no.
Nicaragua pangs.
Yeah.
Not good.
Oh, that guy. Well, I don't know what his name was, but the guy who was like, I can't be caged. And I'm like, bro, do you know how many of you that I've met in my life? A lot.
It doesn't usually turn out too good for most of you.
No.
But, they'll find their way. But eventually they'll be just like the Gen Xers or whatever. They're just going through the same shit we all go through when we're millennials. It's such a load of shit, the whole millennial Gen X thing.
It is. It's just another way of saying old versus young. Like, because millennial has caught on in the zeitgeist that people use it to mean like entitled, lazy, spoiled generation, where there's a lot of people who don't identify with their generation. I don't even know where I fall. I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle.
I think you're a Gen Xer.
No,
maybe closer to the middle.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I'd say
like you and I are like right in the middle, like right.
Yeah, and I feel like the millennials used to be called Generation Y, and somewhere along the way, someone started calling them millennials, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I just think it's going to be scary to see that some of these people, at least in the preview, they're embracing their labels. But I mean, you have that in all the seasons. But I mean, this season, I feel like the labels kind of had an effect on the game, don't you?
Oh, they really stuck. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, look at the way they voted. I guess I don't know. Now that I know Debbie and Nick are flipped in the votes, my view of this changes a little bit, because you don't have a beauty voting for a beauty and a brain voting for a brain with those two. They flipped around.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know if it did stick as much as I thought it did, now that I know those two switched.
It maybe wasn't as powerful as it was in the beginning, but the tightest alliances were those original pairings. I mean, Michelle and Julia, even though she voted her out, Scott and Jason,
Aubrey and
Joe and Aubrey. Yeah, so
that's true. But I've kind of come to like when the contestants sort of identify with their whatever, tribe they're pigeonholed into, because it just creates more of this like character. I don't know, because real people in real life are interesting and everything, but the characters, you can kind of put them in a box and be like, that's what they are, and there's something about that that's compelling on TV. So the more you can stick these people in a box, the more they are.
Yeah, that's what Survivor does.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they edit you a certain way, so they can be like, here's your box. This is what they are. This is how we want you to see them. And some people just make that easier than others do. Yeah.
There was one guy that I feel like seemed kind of funny.
Who's that?
Zeke.
Where
he said he hates Twitter, but he's on Twitter. Yeah. That made me laugh.
Yeah. No, that guy looks interesting. There's like, as always, I mean, I trust the casting director for Survivor, because she never fails to find amazing characters.
She fails sometimes.
She's had her failures in the past, but I feel like, lately she's been on point. Like, to me, the worst cast ever is San Juan del Sur. Like, I don't know.
But that gave us Keith Nail. And,
Jeremy. Every season is gonna have at least one or two good people, but if the rest of them are just, idiots,
What about One World? One World was pretty awful casting, other than Kim.
Yeah, I feel like back then they were really locked into the idea of let's cast good-looking models and actors and stuff, and that was a huge detriment to Survivor. They really need to stay away from that.
I feel like, you're right. I feel like they go more character-driven lately. Like, this cast was awesome. And, you had the beauty tribe, but you don't have, like, a bunch of bikini babes just...
No, I don't think Julia is, like smoke show hot, like...
Smoke show? What's a smoke show?
That's
and same with the dudes. Like, none of the dudes were like, oh, my God. You know what I mean? And they all had interesting personalities, too. So if they keep doing that, it'll be okay. And the labels will probably drop away, but it's really annoying right now thinking that that's the theme.
Yeah, I got a feeling from watching that preview that the characters, once again, are going to be great. But the question is, it's all about dynamics, and you really just can't predict how things are going to play out,
No way.
We'll see. But yeah, I just got nervous when I heard it reminded me of Nicaragua quite a bit. So
yeah, the age thing. It is just a different way of dividing them by age.
Yeah.
It's semantics.
But it is closer together too. Their ages aren't really that far apart.
That's true. It's not like you're having baby boomers and pre-21-year-olds.
Yeah, it's like 26-year-old versus 32-year-old. They're like 6 years apart.
Yeah.
Not that big of a deal. Well, what else? I mean, did you want to talk about the episode, like the finale episode? I'm not sure what there all is to say about that.
I liked that for this fire making challenge, even though apparently it took a while, they did not have to go to matches, which Becky and Sundra, and then who was the other one recently that had to do fire? They had to go to matches too. Wasn't it just last season?
Didn't like Natalie have to do that?
Gosh, who was it?
Last season would have been I don't think there was fire.
It wasn't last season. I feel like it might have been the season before.
Worlds Apart, Rodney and someone else.
Rodney had to make fire? That's right.
Yeah.
Did he really?
It was Rodney and God, who was Rodney and what's her face? Carol. Carol? Is that her name? Carolyn?
Carolyn, I think you're right.
Yeah,
wow.
because that's how
that from my memory.
Well, because Mike was like, "Hey, I believe so strongly I can win based on my challenge performance. I'm going to give a deserving person a chance to get into the finals with me. So I'm going to give Carolyn a chance to make fire against Rodney rather than just taking Rodney with me." That's what happened.
Oh my gosh, that's right. But didn't it turn out to like they took them an insanely long amount of time and they had to give them matches?
I think that might have happened with them too, yeah.
Yeah, but at least this time, no matches were required. I mean, if Aubrey had failed a little harder, they might have done it because I don't think Sydney was getting a fire going anytime soon. But yeah, at least they didn't have to go to matches. So that was a little, saved them a little bit of face there.
Did it seem to you like everybody wanted Aubrey to win?
Yeah, it seemed like that's how they were at it. It seemed like once you had that challenge, I was like, no one on this jury is going to vote for Sydney. And I can't for the life of me figure out why they all hated her so much. Like, it was shocking to me to see how
Aubrey or Sydney?
How they were rooting against Sydney. I didn't feel they were cheering for Aubrey so much, except for Neil.
Neil and Nick. It seemed like Neil and Nick were both cheering for Aubrey.
But the other people were just cheering against Sydney because they're douchebags.
Yeah, it just goes to show this was that kind of jury, through and through. Because to us, the viewers, we're all like, man, look at Sydney and Aubrey, some of the greatest women players. Not just women players. Some of the greatest, we've seen in recent years, and they didn't see that at all. All they saw was like someone that needs to get out of the game because we hate them so much.
They can't see past their own ego.
And that's what we call a bitter jury, Katie. That's all it is.
It was one of the bitterest I ever saw.
Yeah, and I believe
did not care for it.
I believe we could go back into one of our podcasts this season and find a quote of you saying, "Man, I hope they aren't a bitter jury this season."
Oh boy, I didn't even know. I couldn't even going into last night's episode. I wasn't prepared for how bitter. And the thing that irks me the most is how initially, when the bullying stuff happened with Alicia, like I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and defend Scott and Jason a little bit and be like, maybe Alicia sucks, but no, they suck. They all maybe suck, but they suck too.
Alicia sucks a little bit too, but they suck for sure.
Give me Alicia any day of the week rather than, I mean, Jason, I feel like on his own, maybe, but Scott, no. Don't ever ask him to play again. I don't want to see Julia again. I don't want to see Jason unless he can change, but I don't see that happening. So don't invite those people back, please.
That's why I'm saying, hey, if Aubrey keeps Neil and gets rid of Scott on the jury, maybe Jason grows a mind of his own, votes for Aubrey.
Yeah,
There's
it would be interesting.
2 more votes for Aubrey, 1 less for Michelle. I think that might swing it.
It'd be interesting to hop in the time machine, change things a little bit, and see exactly how that went down. Because I would be, and I just feel. Do you ever get the, you talk about we relate to neurotic people.
Yeah.
And people who overthink, and that's what Aubrey is. Do you feel like they attract the chaos? Like sometimes I feel I do that in my own life. So do you feel like Aubrey like attracted these men of it? I mean, I'm not blaming her. It's clearly not her fault, but I'm just saying all these things like befell her. Like
no, I know
Neil and Joe.
I think there's probably something to that. Yeah, like she just like attracted this ending. This is the way it had to end for her because it always ends like this for her. I mean,
so time machine wouldn't do any good. Whatever happened.
Yeah, if we're talking lost time rules, the universe would have corrected itself and something else would have happened, and she still would have lost. But
well, anyways, you know what? If the rumors are true, and there is a season 34 as returning players, I really want to see her play again and get another crack at it because I feel like she's more confident in herself now, and perhaps that wouldn't happen. She wouldn't be so. I think the game, especially with returning players, that's just your natural state of thinking. But I think if she was around other people like that, Fishbackian sorts, she would, maybe do pretty well again.
Yeah, I want to see her play again, but I'm a little concerned that she wouldn't do as well in a returning players season.
Yeah, but that's what everybody says about all returning players, and it's like, well, somebody has to do well.
Yeah, that's a good point. It was like second chances last season. I kind of feel like I was like, nah, they're screwed. They're too big of a threat.
You said that about Spencer and Steven. I mean, both of them made the merge. One of them made the final. So
yeah, somebody's got, like you said, somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to make it. Hopefully it's not.
I've heard a rumor that it's going to be like, did I tell you this? How it's going to be like a mix of like people who won, people who got really close, and then people who like did not do very well. I feel like I heard that somewhere.
That sounds really fun. I like that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too bad, but it depends on who they pick.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if Tony plays again, is that even fair? He's on like
I would love to see him play again.
He's on a whole nother world or another planet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but everyone's wise to his shenanigans.
I'd get him out right away if I was in that game. But I would
just go find idols though and wave them in people's faces.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I would want to get him out right away, but I'd be so scared that it would turn on me because that's the kind of player Tony is. Like just like Russell Hantz. If you target somebody like that, it ends up being you that goes home.
Ugh. Man, what I wouldn't give for a Cagayan jury in this instance, man. They gave Tony his due.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how do you give it to Wu? I feel like there's no other choice,
Cagayan is, there was some talk a few weeks ago about how is Kaoh Rong as good as Cagayan? No. That question has been answered with a resounding no now. Cagayan is in the upper echelon, and Kaoh Rong is, I mean, I'd still put it somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But it dropped for me.
Yeah, I'd say it falls somewhere just under the middle now.
Mm-hmm.
All because I'm bitter about the ending.
It's funny because that last week I was like, a bad winner doesn't necessarily change the way I feel about the season. But when you compare the ending to how good the season was, there's just such a disconnect that I can't, confidently say the season as a whole was good because these two things don't match up.
Yeah, and I think it's especially crazy to think about what we were saying last week, how much we've turned about like when it actually happened. Because last week we're like, Michelle's okay. Like I can live with that. It's all right.
But we were thinking if she went against Ty, maybe.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking. We're like, there's no way if she goes up against Aubrey or Sydney, she wins. So if she goes up against Ty, I can live with that as an ending. But the fact that she went to the end and beat Aubrey, I think that just completely changed everything. And
I didn't see it coming, and it was like it's like the the tragedy you don't see coming, or like the shitstorm you don't see coming, and then you're just covered in shit and you're like, how did I not see this coming?
Yeah, it's like your grandma got hit by a bus or something.
Yeah, something. I mean, yeah.
Something tragic that you didn't see coming, I guess. Maybe a bad example.
Not quite the same thing, but you know, you just, how can you be blindsided by this ending? But I was.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Damn shame.
But I still do kind of want to take us a minute to just talk very quickly about some of the best parts of the season. Can we do that?
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Let's just start at the beginning and kind of go through and
the whole season.
Well, let's just see if we can remember a couple great moments starting from the beginning. The premiere. You know, Darnell goes home. I suppose there's not much there, right? And we get to meet everybody. It was cool to. It was cool to meet.
Ty's a high point. Ty and Debbie, their craziness was always kind of fun.
Yeah. You could see right away that Ty was kind of a flustery, kind of chaotic type of player with that idol thing where he got caught trying to find the idol, and he's
just
like,
give me 5 more minutes.
Give me 5 more minutes. I haven't found it yet.
I mean, we should have known from that point on. Yeah, Ty's not going to be great at actual subtleties of this game.
Yeah, and I think we did. We just like loved him as a character, and that pretty much rang true throughout the season. So that's cool.
The Jen moment where she got up at tribal council and stood on the chairs and was like crazy town. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and the bug in the ear thing.
Ugh. That wasn't a high point for me, but
yeah, no, it's memorable though. You know, memorable moments.
True.
I think it's interesting to ask, what do you think Jen will be remembered for more? Her horrible tribal council implosion, or the bug?
I think the bug. I've already kind of forgotten the whole implosion. Other than this, you know, I will never forget the bug in the ear just because it disturbed me so much.
Yeah. So the Liz thing, not much.
That was good. That was our first tier 1 episode. That was pretty solid. How Debbie orchestrated that elimination. Peter Peter was a douche, but it was fun to root against him. So the whole Peter thing.
He was a person you love to hate.
Really good villain.
Oh man, I wish I would have had this ready. But because it would be really fun to do this if I could. I have a pile of notes over there, and I have a page of notes where I wrote down my first impressions of all the players from the season, and it's really fun to look at. Like, I glanced at it the other day. It's really fun to look at what I said about some of these people, my first impressions compared to what you know about them now.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I picked Peter to win, so that tells you, what I was thinking.
Yeah, and I had written down something like something's off about him. Like there's something. Right. Yeah,
you called that.
Aubrey, I wrote down that Aubrey was screwed.
You did.
Yeah,
that's right. I remember thinking that when I just saw the picture, I was like, yeah, she's screwed. But then when she talked and I read a little bit about her, I was like, oh, I think she'll be okay.
Well, in her thing, she was waving her wand around and stuff, like pretending to be
I hope they never do that again with the weird camera. Act weird, act crazy, act charming.
Joe's like sneaking around bushes and stuff.
Yeah, that was awesome. Another high point when Joe confronted Peter, it was like, are you going to vote me out? That was like Joe's one good moment in the show, other than winning his board challenge.
That's true. Yeah, good moment there. Caleb, the medevac, that was pretty intense. I mean,
that was scary. And can we talk about Caleb's hair at the finale? I thought he was Vanilla Ice for a moment. His hair was up here.
I don't know. I kind of think it's cool. Like, I don't know. I like guys that have the balls to like let me do some crazy tall hair. Like, I think it's kind of cool.
Do you remember the episode of Saved by the Bell where Zach and his friends had a band?
Yeah, that's my favorite episode.
Yeah, and then he's like dreaming about what the band goes through, and they break up, and Zach becomes a solo artist, and then he goes to the hospital because someone's hurt, and his hair is like bam up to here.
It's
like that's what Caleb made me think of when I saw him. I was like, oh my god, it's Zach Attack.
Well, at least his wife likes it. I'm sure.
Oh
she
yeah,
likes it.
You know what? I disliked Caleb mostly when he was on Big Brother, but after dealing with the people like Scott and Jason, I wish we could have seen someone like Caleb instead, to be honest.
Well, he just came off as such a creeper with that whole situation in Big Brother.
Yeah.
Based
that
on
won't be an issue anymore because he's married now, so I think
Yeah.
we'll see more of the genuine Caleb.
Based on what you've told me, I actually didn't see that part, so I don't know. But
consider yourself lucky. Big Brother is a black hole that you can't get out of once you fall into it.
Are you
For the summer.
Are you going into Big Brother this summer? Are you going into the black hole?
I kind of want to just watch the episodes and not pay attention to the live feeds, but I don't know. I'm going to try whenever I get the urge to like look something up to maybe read instead.
Read a book.
Or do something productive. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know if I'll be able to avoid it completely. I know I won't be able to because Survivor's gone. I mean, what do you watch when there's no Survivor?
Yeah. I've never been a Big Brother fan. I've seen a little bit here and there, but like the last couple summers, your guys' enthusiasm about it has kind of sucked me into it a little bit. So this might be. We
always regret it so much.
Yeah. Every year you're like, I'm never watching again, and I don't fully understand why you guys say that when you seem to get so much enjoyment out of it. Is it maybe because is it like the stigma about like you feel like you're wasting your summer watching reality TV or
like Survivor is like,
it's more of an adventure.
Survivor is like your awesome
epic.
Like I'm trying to make a comparison. I can't think. He's like someone you date who's like a doctor and kind and volunteers on the weekends. And then Big Brother's like some random like douchebag who you just kind of hang out with once in a while.
Yeah, but he's like super attractive because he's a badass and stuff. Like
I don't know, that's a kind of a lame comparison, but
too much.
It's like the trashy step sibling to Survivor.
Right.
And it's just because it takes up so much time. It's on 3 nights a week. Granted,
3 nights? 3 nights a week? Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do 3 hours a week. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
No, exactly. See, and it's summer. You should be out doing things and having fun and being outside, So there's kind of an element of shame that goes into watching Big Brother.
Especially when you live in the Midwest, like we have winter here like at least 5 months out of the year. So you really got to try to take advantage of the good weather when it's here. So spending 3 hours out of your week, I don't know if I can do it. And I was thinking, it might be fun to podcast about Big Brother, but I don't think there's any way. I have enough trouble trying to find time to keep up with this podcast.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing like 3 Big Brother podcasts every year.
No. I would say if we did it would have to be a once a week thing, but we'll see. Let's wait and see if the season's any good first, and then maybe we'll consider it.
Yeah, I mean, the most I can commit to really is like maybe because there's other things I want to do with this channel.
Yeah, too. I'd rather, we need to start branching out a little bit.
Yeah, let's check out some other TV shows. Maybe we can maybe make some videos about maybe just podcasts because I like just podcasting with you. That's easy and fun. So, but Big Brother. Maybe at the most we could do like a before the season and an after the season podcast.
No, that's not a bad idea. 2
podcasts, and then we don't have to worry about. And maybe one in the middle if we feel like it.
Yeah.
But anyways, God, I feel like we got
the rails there
way off track.
We were just talking about some high points of the season, and to me, it's harder now to get excited about. I'm just still bummed about how it ended. So but
there's still a lot of great things,
I wish we could have seen more of Darnell. I'm sad about that now that I'm thinking about it. But
Darnell would have been a great character. He had this like awesome way of talking.
And he seemed kind.
I need to, and my stomach's telling me I need
to
go
to the bathroom.
To the bathroom.
Man, I could have used way more of him and way less of Scott. Like those two could have switched. I would have been completely down with that.
God, yeah, that would have been great.
But anyway,
there was the whole Alicia controversy because
that wasn't a high point. That was a talking point.
I'm not just talking about high points. I'm talking about memorable moments, right? Right.
Yeah.
So, but there was a little bit of controversy there. What was that about? Like, just maybe some people were calling that like feminism, like, or sexism or
He was calling
chauvinism or
them
something.
misogynists, and I was
Yeah,
kind of like, they're not misogynists. I'm second guessing that though now. I mean,
yeah.
they gave the game to a woman, but they couldn't respect the gameplay of an aggressive woman. And there's maybe something to explore there. I'm not
Yeah,
saying anything. I'm
yeah.
just making
I
an
was just
observation.
I'll just leave this here.
I'll just leave that there.
Yeah. No, I looking back on it, there's probably something to that. I don't want to dig into that though. So
No, certainly not.
um
Let's see.
who went after those two, Alicia and Caleb, in that episode? Peter was next, I think.
Peter.
Fun to see him basically
Get his comeuppance. Yeah, that was fun.
douche himself out of the game.
He really did douche himself. He out-douched himself to the very end.
Yeah, to the bitter end.
And his tribal council performances where he was just like, here, this is our plan. This is what's going to happen. He was so
He's
confident.
Like, sorry, you're going home today. And then he goes home. It's great stuff. I love when that happens. It's great. Pretty much the same thing.
Let's talk more about the post-merge stuff where stuff really started to get real.
Stuff started to heat up a little bit.
Yeah, when Sydney switched and was like, don't check me, boo. I'm getting rid of Nick. And then Nick went home and then all the shit started.
Yeah, Nick going home was a lot like Peter going home. You got a guy who's like, I'm laying it out there. Here's what's happening. And then, so we got two of those moments this season. Yeah, I love those. I love when that happens.
That was an awesome blindside, the Nick blindside. And then you had the Debbie blindside, which we all questioned that move, but it worked out pretty well for Aubrey and Sydney because they made it to the Final Four. And so I don't question it any longer. And it was fun to see them at least, it was the same tribal council where Scott and Jason were like, ooh, look at how awesome we are. Look at this super idol, which was looming large over the whole game.
Yeah.
But in a way, even though they had that power still, in a way they averted, for that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They averted their satisfaction from using it.
I feel like they had to do something that was opposed to whatever Scott and Jason wanted to do. Whatever it was, whoever went home, it had to be the opposite of what Scott and Jason wanted. It's because like if they get their way, a couple more votes, they run the whole game to the end and it's over.
And they like to credit for that afterwards. Like, yeah, we got someone out and it's all because of our sabotage strategy. And it was like, first of all, your sabotage was not strategy.
Yeah.
That was Scott being, bruised ego. And second of all, it had nothing to do with them like fighting amongst each other. It was just them trying to avoid losing each other. And therefore, and Debbie was not going along with what they wanted to do. So.
Right. Yeah. Can you think of some post-merge moments where you said things heated up and like?
Well,
was it just more a general heating up?
No, the Ty thing. When Scott turns to Ty, and he's like, "Are you going to give it to me?" And Ty's like, "No." That was one of my most favorite Survivor moments in history, and I like it even better going back now because of how my hatred for Scott has been completely like vindicated and amplified. So thinking back on it now, it's even more satisfying. That moment is so. Love it.
Sure. Great moment there. What else? Maybe that was the end of the good.
That might have been the end of the really good hot streak stuff. And we had a couple of lackluster things where Julia went out, Jason went out, and then Joe ate too much beef and couldn't poop.
Because Julia was uneventful and predictable, and Jason, not only was it the predictable vote, but they kind of distracted us and made us think it wasn't going to happen and didn't give us a real like suck it, Jason. It was more just like, this is going to happen. Never mind, Jason's out. And we're like, what? Yeah. Oh, okay. That's fine. Yeah. So maybe after the epic Ty withholding the idol moment, it wasn't great.
You can't top it. You can't top that moment.
That's
There's
true.
no topping it. So, and it was inevitable to have a little bit of a backslide. And I was fine with that. What I was not fine with was the absolute shithole of a finale.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that pretty much covers the high, not high points, but memorable moments of the season.
Yeah, and I think people are going to remember this season. There were a lot of them, a lot of those moments. You had really unpredictable votes, people who didn't expect to go home, going home a lot, except for the Julian Jason thing. Before that, I don't know if any of those people knew they were going home.
Yeah, it was pretty constant.
So it was an awesome pre-merge, really good post-merge up until the predictable stuff started happening. And then it didn't pick back up ever.
It did not.
That's okay. It's a unique Survivor season in that it was awesome right up to the end. Until the end. Not awesome at
Yeah, right on. All right, well, any final thoughts?
No, I'm ready to move on from Kaoh Rong. We've talked about it so much, and it's a bummer of a way to end. But like I said, we had some awesome winners the last few years. I mean, Jeremy, Mike, although he was a douche in the beginning, he was the one you wanted to win.
You were rooting for him by the end, yeah.
Yeah, you had Natalie, you have Tyson. So you had some real Tony.
I like Cochran a lot. I don't know.
Cochran.
I'm a big Cochran fan.
And that's the thing. If Aubrey had been at the end with like a Dawn and a Sherry, which would have been Joe and Ty, she probably would have won. But she was not.
Good point. Point. Yeah. So it's been a while since we've had a winner who just was like,
Yeah, it's been a long time. So
really long time.
Even crappy seasons like San Juan del Sur, you're like, oh, well, at least Natalie won.
Yeah.
This is the opposite. It's like awesome season, but I can't believe she won.
So it really does make sense that Jeff didn't want to hype it up because
it does, because this is really a bad ending.
It's been a long time, and it has been a long time since we've had one like this. So yeah, I get it now. I get it now.
I knew at some point it was going to make sense.
Yeah. What do you say to all the Michelle winner edit people? Because there were a bunch of people out there who were like, Michelle's gonna win. It's the edit.
I feel like they had spoilers or something, because that was not the edit I was reading.
Yeah, I didn't really see a big winner.
Weird edit.
I get what they were saying, sort of, but yeah, there's a good chance they could have been spoiled. A lot of them, they knew. Mm-hmm. So, and maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. But
maybe not. Bow down to Stephen Fishback, because he had it all figured out from the beginning.
Was that his winner pick then?
I don't even think so. It was Josh Wigler's winner pick, but he wasn't even happy about it. He's like, I don't really buy into it.
Yeah.
But he did pick her to win.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, yeah, I guess I just want to say that it's been really fun talking about this season. It's just amazing characters. Like, that's what's fun to watch and talk about. And this season had amazing characters. I'm disappointed with the ending, but it's going to be a memorable season because it was fun. It was a fun time, and we were pretty consistent with our podcast. We actually pretty much got it done every week. We had a couple weeks where we were quite behind on it, but I think we did a pretty good job keeping up this season. So that's good for us. Good for us.
I think it helped that we liked the season. It was a good season.
Yeah, for sure.
Until the end.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just want to say it's been a lot of fun, and thanks for listening. Anybody out there, if you exist, if you're a person who watched every episode, that's or listened at least. I mean, this is more like a listen thing, right?
Yeah.
So thanks so much for listening if you did, and we
appreciate it.
I guess this summer our plan is to maybe pick up a couple kind of random things. We were kind of thinking about doing a Lost thing, right?
Yeah, we still need to do our Lost podcast. We're gonna try to answer some burning questions, which I know people have already attempted to answer because it's been 10 years or whatever.
It's nothing that hasn't been done, but I mean, let's be honest, we're just doing what's fun for us, and if anybody else likes it, that's fine with us, So
and it's time for us to branch out from Survivor a little bit, and so and we're not gonna do Walking Dead again because So I think it'd be fun to go to a show that we just love and have always loved. So I think that's a good place to start.
I'm trying to get caught up on Game of Thrones right now. I think it'd be fun to do a little bit of podcasting about Game of Thrones because I know Katie.
Oh, Dave, they're having an awesome 6th season, so you got to power through those other seasons and get caught up because season 6 has been on fire.
Oh, that's great. And I know everybody and their mom is probably podcasting about Game of Thrones, but like we said,
but it's like
I think we just got to do what's fun for.
Yeah, I talk about it in my everyday life, and
it's just easier that way. Like that's why Survivor is easy for us to talk about, is because and that's actually why we started the podcast in the first place, was because this is sort of how we talk about it just when we're hanging out. Like, and we're like, why not just make a channel? Because it'd be fun, you know? So, so yeah, that's kind of why we might talk about Game of Thrones, is because Game of Thrones, we like it and it might be easy to talk about. Whereas The Walking Dead, I mean, why do you think we stopped with that? Like, you kind of started to lose interest,
I didn't get any joy out of it anymore. And when you're not getting any joy out of a show, why continue watching it, let alone talking about it? So,
yeah, it started to feel like we
felt like
kind of we kind of have a complaining tone in general. Like that's just what that's our style. We kind of bitch about stuff. But with that show, it was like, that's like all it was, is we were just like, this sucks. And
that's not fun for people to listen to. So, or for us to talk about. Yeah.
It's not fun. And, and I wouldn't even say that. Like maybe it'd be fun to do a podcast where we just like, the whole point of the podcast is to bitch about something. I mean, that could actually be what they
call hate watching. I would never want to do that about something I love, like Game of Thrones. Like even when someone complains about the tiniest little thing on Game of Thrones, I'm like, really? So I know I have positivity in me. Like, you know what I mean? But when I don't like something, when something is not good, it's hard to find.
Yeah, and that's kind of what was going on with Walking Dead, is I don't think we watch it to hate it. We want to like it.
We used to like it, yeah.
We want to like it. We do like it. And so if it's just not doing it for us, it's not fun, right?
It's not worth our time, and it's probably nothing anyone wants to listen to either.
Probably not. So we kind of gave up on that one. But we're gonna try some new things, and I really do hope that next season we can keep it going and keep talking about Survivor, because
and we can find where we fit in. Are we millennial or Generation X? Because I still don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out before the show starts.
Yeah. But apparently those traits define us, even though we don't know where we are.
Yeah, because all Generation Xers are hard workers and all millennials are lazy freeloaders.
They can't be caged, man. They can't be caged.
Because that's just the way it is. But yeah, okay. We've rambled on long enough. Thanks for listening very much, and we will see you guys soon when we do some other kind of podcast. So, all right. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.